Hello, hello, everyone. This is Love, Laughs, and Lessons, and we are in the Matchmaker series. And I'm Dr. Frankie Bashan, CEO of Little Gay Book Matchmaking, Little Black Book Matchmaking. I'm a clinical psychologist and a board-certified sex therapist who's been working for over 2 decades. And I have an amazing co-host named Denise, who will introduce herself momentarily. But we are here talking every week, every Thursday about relationships, dating, romance, sex, anything related to intimacy, connection. We want to help all of you live healthier, happier, fuller lives. And we always have awesome guests on our show. And again, this is the Matchmaker series. So we have another matchmaker on this week who's going to share all about matchmaking and relationships and so much more. So hopefully you pick up lots of nuggets of information. And before we introduce her, I'm going to hand it over to Denise.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back. So happy to have you here. And I am Denise Ray, Client Service Director and a matchmaker at Little Gay Book, working with Dr. Frankie. And if you say matchmaking and you don't say Arlene's name, then you're not doing anything at all. So we are so excited to have Arlene Washburn on our show. Arlene stands as a beacon of love, connection, and innovative matchmaking, esteemed for her role as the matchmaker and relationship guru. Yes, guru. Arlene embodies the essence of modern love. Her innate skill in uniting souls of her uniting. Let's start all over again because I'm so excited that the words are just trying to get out of my mouth. Her innate skill in uniting souls and her deep grasp of complexities of human relationship have fueled her mission to guide individuals toward their perfect match. Arlene's been celebrated for her dedication, her expertise. Like, Arlene is the GOAT. If you have a question, you go to Arlene. Arlene has become a cornerstone of the matchmaking world and a trusted consultant for matchmaking firms in need of her unique insight. Her recognition in 2022 as the most innovative woman in matchmaking underscores Arlene's relentless pursuit of excellence and her commitment to redefining the matchmaking landscape. She's a visionary. She is full of heart, full of understanding. She knows relationships and she knows how to help us know our clients better. So welcome, Arlene. We're so happy to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it.
You've been around a long time, Arlene.
Yes.
Yeah, doing amazing work. Like you and I connected years ago. I've connected with very few early on in my career, very few matchmakers, and you were one of them.
And you're a rock star too. I've been following your work on TV, on the shows and all that good stuff forever. I keep tabs on everyone. I don't know how I find the time, but I do.
Impressive. Yeah.
It is impressive. How did you get started? Tell us.
So it's interesting. I got into matchmaking, after seeing a show on TV that we've all seen, I'm sure. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a career. And I had been in the pharmaceutical industry for 20 years and had gone through a bunch of iterations during that time in terms of like operations and sales and marketing and all this. And then my last position, it was one of the toughest things ever. I had this very large team of people that were creating apps for the pharma industry and that I was overseeing. And came back from vacation. They let me go, and I was like, "This is it. I'm doing it." I've been thinking about it and just thinking about it for 5 years, right? And I had already embarked on taking courses and reading books, and I'm a self-help junkie anyway. And yeah, it just pushed me into it. But part of it really was coming from a single parent household where I was never taught anything about how to be in relationships. And I have a sister, and I was like, I just don't want to do the same thing with my child. I have a daughter. So I was determined to learn for myself, for her, and all the women around me. And that's really what pushed me into matchmaking.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was how many years ago?
It's been my official company opened up 12 years ago. I had been doing matchmaking for a long time before that, but it wasn't a job, it wasn't a thing because I was, like I said, in the pharma industry. So But yeah, I came into it. This is the distinction for me, is that I came into matchmaking as a modern matchmaker. As you know, Frankie and Denise, um, a lot of matchmakers have been siloed for years in their own little bubble, and they don't collaborate and they don't interact with other matchmakers. And I have been a proponent of collaboration, community, having those resources available. And so I came into matchmaking as a modern matchmaker, and I've been dragging every old school matchmaker I could find to get into what we're doing, because it's so much more effective.
So true. So true. Yeah. Yeah. So where did you start? And kind of walk us through like the steps, because like you have so much knowledge, so much information. You blow my mind sometimes, and those in our workshops and things like that. I'm like, where did she get that from? Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate those words. Basically, I took all the business acumen that I had from my previous life and brought it into the matchmaking world. And then, in
Mhm.
terms of the science and the data, I'm a science-based dating and relationship coach. I felt that it was really important to have evidence-based information, studies, coming from a world of a lot of regulations and pharma. It just would drive me crazy that there was so much coaching being done anecdotally. Like, there was no basis for what people were saying other than their own personal experience. And, while the data may not be accurate for everyone, in the majority, I would say there's always a snowflake and a unicorn, but the majority of people experience XYZ. And so when you're coaching your clients, you can actually give them the basis of where you're coming from. So really, that, I just approach matchmaking in a very different way. I started my business. I was in Richwood, New Jersey at the time, and then found out that there was a school for matchmaking. I went there, got certified, and started, during the certification process, I was actually chiming in and sort of training with sales and marketing. And eventually they were like, okay, why don't you just come in and help us every time we do this conference? So I was doing the sales and marketing training. And eventually I became the CEO when their CEO stepped down. So I joined that. And while I was there, one of the things that I'm really proud of was to bring in a science person who is, Terry Orbuck.
Yeah.
She's a
Dr. Terry.
professor. Yeah, she's a professor at a university in Michigan. She's been funded by the National Institutes of Health for over 30 years to follow a study. And I really wanted to bring that credibility into matchmaking, so that the matchmakers weren't just order takers, but actually learning how, relationships work, so that they can do better matches that way. So that was my parting gift as I stepped down in 2018.
And I
Nice.
asked you when you started your business, I was thinking, because people often say, when did you start? When did you open your company? And I'm thinking, I started when I was a teenager. I'm sure you can relate to that too. The idea of just, you've been in it naturally, you just do it.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's almost like a calling. Like you start matching people and you recognize when there's a good match. I remember working at a company where my boss, she would come in talking about this guy all the time. And I said to her, you and that guy, I don't know. And she was married at the time. Well, it turns out she got divorced. She ended up getting married to the guy that she was talking about, who was a friend of the family. But like, I can tell in a weird way. And even now, when I go to a restaurant and I see a couple sitting there, I can tell they're on the first date. It's like, it's so weird. I mean, I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
can relate.
Yeah. Absolutely. You could tell who's not going to make it through the night.
The worst are the awkward dates where you're just looking, you're sitting there, you're like, you can't stop looking over because you feel so bad for that person. It's just like, for both of them, it's just like an
Yeah.
awkward date.
Yeah.
Let me run over and give you a little cue card. Say this, say
Oh,
this.
pointers.
It is really, really funny. And it's so weird. Like, I guess, and I did take courses on body language, right? So I can tell body language as well. And you can just see it from a distance, like, oh, these two are really awkward. They probably just met. It's one of those blind dates. Because even if there's a photo on their profile, it's still going to be a blind date, because you don't know what the hell's going to show up, because people are
It's so
unfortunately
true.
always lying.
And then, like, when you're nervous, you just kind of, you either overshare, you don't talk enough, it's just the conversation gets stilted, and it's like so natural to be nervous on a first date. So my heart always goes out to people. And as coaches and so on, we try to really help people approach it confidently, but it's hard nonetheless.
I always tell, daters that when they go on a first date, you're there to kind of build like connection, to find common ground instead of looking for all the red flags, and not to ask questions, but to tell stories, because people will remember stories, and stories kind of like, I don't know, you feel something when you hear a story versus rapid fire questions, which a lot of people do. And it's just so not constructive. And so my advice is create stories that connect to your core values, so that when you get a response or a reaction from somebody else, that you can hear what they have to say with in regard to that, right? And see where their core values stand. So it's so strategic to do it that way versus just asking a bunch of questions.
I love that
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah, to create a story. But I wonder, with that approach, is it something that you think about before going on the date, like listing your core values and then figuring out how you want to talk about it in a story?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you for asking that, because I think people, it's not that you want to be rehearsed, but if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And so planning means preparation and thinking through things. Like when I do presentations, I'm going over it in my head over and over again. Like I have an idea of the direction I want things to go. And so if you show up where you don't have that, then that's when you're flailing and you don't know what to say and it's awkward. But if you've already prepared, even like when you do, in the business world, when you're doing a webinar or something and you infuse stories into your webinar,
Mhm.
they're compelling, right? And you've already planned this out. You're still being authentic though, because these are legitimate stories. These are things that happen to you, and people get a lot of pleasure about when they tell their stories. And I also think that people will remember you when you tell a story, because the questions they're not going to remember. They're just going to be like, oh my God, it was like an interview.
It's so true. It's making me think of just the approach to TED Talk when they were prepping us, like, here's what you need to really think about. It's about evoking emotion, because
Yeah.
that's what people remember, the feeling.
That's right. The
Absolutely.
feeling. That's right.
And I loved your TED Talk, by the way.
So did I.
Thank you. That was one hard thing to do for me. Oh my goodness. But I don't want to talk about me, but it just, when I heard you say that, it made me think of like, TED is all about telling a story and evoking emotion, because that's how we connect most deeply with each other, and you move people that way. So
Yeah.
you want to be on a date with somebody that you want to, if you're interested, or they think you might be interested, you want to be able to engage, like connect with them, connect to that part.
And everyone is going on these dates to find connection. Like, how many times have we heard that over and over? I didn't feel the connection. I didn't feel, and so if you're doing that interview checklist, you're never going to feel it. But if you're relating, like what you said, with a story that, not only expresses who you are, but gives them a chance to share a little bit more about them as well, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
The other
amazing.
thing is, I think a lot of our clients, right, are professionals that are used to interviewing. They're used to rapid fire questions. They're like, I got this. Show up on the date and just boom, 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 one after the next.
Absolutely. And, to your point, Denise, about looking for connection, I always say, I think I got this from Rachel Maddow. She says, watch what they do, not what they say. They say they want connection, but they actually show up looking for red flags. And so that's
Absolutely.
not an approach to connection, right? So there's just like, let me see what's wrong with this person. So that's why I think it's really important, if you move away from that mindset of, let me see what's wrong with this person, or if you're focused on telling your stories and looking, really trying to assess connection. I mean, everybody has flaws, right? You're going to find flaws in everyone, because we're not perfect either. So I just think it's a very different approach if you're looking for, what's good instead of the red flags.
That's right. How can I count this person in, as opposed to how can I get rid of them as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now with the online platforms, people think that they have a lot of choice, but it's kind of when you have so much choice, is the paradox of choice, right? That you don't know what to choose. And so you start looking for the BBD, the bigger, better deal. And then, it's kind of like that person, when you play, what was that game that you used to play running around the chairs and then somebody would be left out without a, like you end up in that situation. Now you see yourself like, I'm 45 and I want to have a child, but you've been playing that chair game for so long. Now
Yeah.
now everybody else got their chairs and you're out. I'm not coming from a scarcity mentality, because I do believe that there's a lid to every pot, but you start to eliminate a lot of your goals by wasting all that time of thinking you're going for the bigger, better deal. At some point, you have to, I don't want to say settle. You just have to choose someone at some point, because nobody is perfect.
I think
No
being
one is perfect.
realistic. It's not settling. It's like, just be realistic.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
looking for a unicorn. Like,
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
exist.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
think of
but
it
you
as a
can't.
pyramid. The pyramid, right? Like, as we get older, you're just climbing that pyramid, and our options are getting slimmer and slimmer. Life
Yeah.
choices. What were you gonna say, Denise?
No, it doesn't matter. I think you covered it, but I was going to say, how long do you think the first date should be? Because I hear, we hear a lot of people spending 5 hours on a date and 6 hours because it felt so good. You know,
Yeah. No, it depends. If it's a zero date, and that's what I call a date where you meet for coffee just to assess if there's common ground and connection. I think you need all your senses in the room to really determine if you're attracted to someone, because most people may not be this way, but I know myself, if a person's scent is so important to me. If their scent doesn't connect with me, I know, I don't care how good looking or accomplished or this or that, there's no go. Like, we're done. Right. So in those things you can assess, like if you show up to a date and you give a quick hug or something. I mean, if people are comfortable, I know some people just shake hands, which is kind of weird for dating. But I respect it. That gives you that information. There's also just watching viewing their mannerisms. Like, I just feel like you need all your senses in the room to determine if there's any chemistry. Then that would be a very, very short date, like an hour, right? And then after that, and I'm saying really more for people who are doing the online dating thing. When it comes to like our industry, we've already put the time and effort. Like I always used to tell my clients, I've gone on the first date for you, so just trust me. This person has all the qualities that you're looking for. So now you're just coming in to really have a formal date where you want to see if there's that connection and chemistry and all that good stuff. But you no longer have to worry about, do they have the qualities that you're looking for, because we've done our job, right?
right.
So that's a little different, but most people are using online platforms. So like I said, a zero date could be a video date, right? Just to see how the conversation flows and things like that. But I would keep it very short. I think those 3 and 5 hour dates that people go on, I mean, I'm not saying you can't establish a relationship after that, but I think that you run the risk of not leaving somebody wanting more, where you just did
Absolutely.
it all and now there's
Yeah.
nothing left, and then the next date is like so boring. You go up and then it goes down, so
And
leave
it goes
something to
down.
be desired, I think.
Yeah.
You
Good
want to
point.
end on top. Like, you want to end not tired, right? You want to end with energy.
Yeah.
Walk away feeling good. And like,
Good
you want to
point.
learn more about that person. You feel energized, not depleted.
Not right. And that's what a 5 hour date usually does.
I think so. Can't
Yeah.
catch me on a 5 hour date.
And to your point, Frankie, I think one of the things that people do need to really focus on when they're on a date is, how does this person make you feel?
Mhm.
You have to be constantly checking in with yourself. Like, do they make me anxious? Do I feel unsafe? Do I feel a connection? Do I feel seen? Do I feel ignored? Like, those are the things that you really should be feeling, checking in with yourself, because it's amazing. And you know this as matchmakers, where you do a feedback after two people have met and you have totally different stories. One person's like, oh
Totally.
my God, it was amazing. The other one's like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Couldn't wait to get out of there. Yeah, it's so
And that's
true.
not unusual. And that's what
That's
listeners
that's
should
a
take
huge
in.
percentage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge
Unusual.
percentage of the time.
The other thing that's interesting too, it came up in one of our earlier podcasts, I think, is like the idea when when you're like a narcissist, right? You're on a date with somebody really charismatic and they look good, they sound good and everything, but you're walking away feeling like something doesn't feel quite right.
Mm-hmm.
So important to check in with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think unfortunately, people are always looking for the spark, right? So the narcissist will generate sparks because it sometimes is more of an anxiety feeling that people think is like, oh my God, this is the one. So I'm like, F the spark, like, don't look for the spark, okay? Look for peace, look for harmony, look for, a different kind of feeling, because often that spark is just going to be like that, go away very quickly. And narcissistic people tend to be too much too soon. Like they're immediately using terms of endearment. They're doing a lot of things that are too fast and too early in a relationship. So be mindful, but then, also have boundaries, because I think people who don't have boundaries do attract a lot of narcissistic people, because that's what they just want to run roughshots over you. And if you don't have boundaries, or you don't know, you may have them and you don't know how to communicate them, then you're definitely going to end up in situations that you don't want to be in.
Also
Yeah.
insecurity, right? Because narcissists make you feel really attractive and smart, and they make you feel important. And yeah,
You get
don't
sucked right into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
crazy.
that gets back to, like being self-aware, having a sense of self, and knowing what your values are, where you don't need to find that validation outside of yourself. And that takes, effort. And sometimes you have to work with someone to get to that level. And it doesn't matter how beautiful or accomplished or anything. If, anybody can have those feelings of unworthiness. And
Mhm.
when you have that, then you get excited when you meet a narcissist who love bombs you, right? But if you're someone who has a sense of self and you don't need that type of validation, then you're more clear, like clear-eyed, and you can see the truth for what it is and so forth. So I think when people are looking for validation outside of themselves, it's a clue that you might need to work with someone, because often you can't figure that out on your own.
Mhm. And there is no quick fix. As many, people think in the dating world that if I just did this different, if I said this different, if I look this way different, but the true work comes from the work that you're doing on yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
really believe the vibration piece, like,
Mm-hmm.
for
I'm not a
sure.
hokey pokey crystal kind of person, but when you work on yourself and you're vibrating, your vibration's high, you're gonna draw in people that are vibrating high with you. And if you're not doing the work, you're vibrating low, you're wondering why you keep drawing in the wrong kind of person. That you got to work on yourself.
Yeah, and I have a colleague, her name is Dr. Aisha, and she always says that there's a lot of woo-woo that's also true, and vibration is actually something
I
that
like
is
it.
very true, right? We're on a certain frequency, and if you're on that frequency, you're going to attract others that are on that frequency. So when you're a low vibration person, you're going, and what creates vibration? The thoughts. Your thoughts and your beliefs are super powerful. I mean, that dictates that's what comes out of your mouth is coming through the beliefs and the thoughts in your head. What you
Absolutely.
do, right? All of it needs to be congruent. So just being self-aware, and also not be a chameleon dater, right? Like where you show up auditioning for someone.
Mm.
Mm.
Be yourself, right? And then the right person, you're going to attract the right person, right? Because if they don't like what you bring, then that's okay. And don't take it as a rejection, because we're all self-selecting in the dating process. So it doesn't matter. You could be amazing, but for that person, that's not the right fit. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just a self-selection process. And I think if we can move people away from feeling rejection and looking at it as like, thank you, like, oh yeah, I'm not for you. Okay, thank you. Don't waste my time. Thank you
Mhm.
very much. I'll move on to the next thing, right? It's a
Right.
beautiful thing.
That's so important what you just said. So people realize that it's like they have agency in this process. And that when they go on a date, it's like they're not, it's about finding somebody who's right for you. So showing up in your most authentic self and not being performative and trying to give them what you think will make them like you, because that's not successful long term. We're looking for compatibility to find somebody that we really can just truly be ourselves with.
Mhm.
So that's key, really. And that's
That's,
yeah.
that's big. That's big. You drop like two gems. Some of that woo woo is true. And F the spark. I'm like,
Yeah. These sound bites, I like them.
I like them.
Yeah, it's just amazing because like a lot of what we talk to our clients about, you know, what we coach them on is stuff that they, you know, most of them are accomplished people. They know this on a business level, but
Mhm,
they somehow have disconnected any common sense or any of that when it comes to relationships. And often, I mean, it's not any of our faults, right? It's because we've been trained to think, don't worry about it. When you least expect it, it's going to happen. You know, there are cultures that are like, no dating, no dating. Okay, now get married. Okay. You know, like I know some of my Asian friends will say, you know, my parents were like, you cannot go on dates. You cannot, you know, forget relationships. Just get your degree, become a lawyer, a doctor. You know, my Asian friends, my African friends, you know, that's their culture. And then the next thing is, okay, now get married. And it's like, what do I don't know anything about relationships. Like, are you kidding me? So I really think that our culture needs to get to a place where they're teaching this in high school and in
mhm.
college as a mandatory thing. How to interact in the world. I think there would be more peace in the world if we learned how to interact with other humans and how to connect rather than be at war and be judgmental and all this stuff that we have going on right now, but
Yeah.
nobody's training on this, right? Even therapists. I mean, I've had a lot of clients who are therapists. They don't know anything about relationships unless that's their specialty. They don't know, right? So something's got to change in our society because I think these young men who are out there shooting up supermarkets and daycare centers and stuff like that, a lot of it is anger. A lot of it has to do with interacting. You know, they feel um you know that they weren't like they just couldn't connect with women or whatever and they're angry. Like there's a lot of anger in the world, and I think a lot of this needs to be solved, and it's all tied in with the dating and relationships and all of that. So something's got to change.
I keep thinking authenticity, just being like being yourself and learning how to like yourself and love yourself, even with flaws, and striving on a regular basis, on a daily basis, actually, to just do better. Be like,
Mhm.
whatever, if it's like an act of kindness, if it's about being more patient, like for me, I always try to be more patient and understanding. That's what I work on. But like every day I think about it. Or like this morning, I was like, surrender. Today one of my clients brought up surrender the other day. I was like, that's a good one. I'm gonna try to surrender today. What can I surrender to? Like every day there's something else that, I'm pondering.
Hmm. I love it. Yeah.
Do you not, can you relate or I just sound crazy?
No, no, I can
Okay.
relate.
Yeah, surrender is a great word because you know often surrender is about those who worry suffer twice because you're worrying about something that
Mm,
hasn't even happened yet, right? So just surrender because if you can't control it, if it's out of your control, there's no point in worrying and there's no point in stressing yourself out. So surrender. But where you do have agency, know the power that you have in being able to
mm,
control yourself, like knowing what you can control and what you have to just release and surrender. I think that's a great word. Um, and authenticity is super important, but I think often people confuse authenticity with being indulgent. Like I am
Mm.
what I am. I
mm.
don't know. I'm a little older than you guys, so Popeye used to say that all the time. He's like, I
Really?
am what I
I
am.
am what I am. Yeah.
I remember Popeye.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, we are all a work in progress until we die, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. So knowing that, right? Having that growth mindset versus a fixed mindset where you think I am's what I am's and I'm never going to change. No, everybody can change. Everybody can grow. Everybody can learn. I mean, my 91-year-old mom is still learning, right? She's 91 and we have these conversations. She'll forget some things here and there, but she still wants to learn. I mean, she was a college professor, so, learning is a thing in our family. But
Oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I just wish people would embrace that concept, because it's so exciting to learn new things and try new things, right? And
and
be authentic. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, just be authentic, but don't be indulgent, because
Yeah.
that's where I am's what I am's comes from.
And we don't have to be stuck in I am's what I am. We can remake ourselves like constantly, always. And like you said, having that growth mindset, it's not just about the experience for the people that we're trying to meet, but for us too. What an amazing life you can create when you're doing the work on yourself, when you're challenging, when you're moving, when you're, reaching for more. It's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. And Arlene, I'm older than you.
Really? I find that hard to believe.
Something just came to mind. I wonder what you think about it. This idea of being authentic, and in your authenticity being really brutally honest. I hear that a lot. Like, I'm just a really honest person. I'm really real.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then when you think about it in the dating context, and somebody, for example, is realizing they went on 1 or 2 dates and they're not interested, and they are just not gentle with how they're feeling, and they say, well, when I talk to them as a matchmaker, I'm like, oh, the way that it could have been said differently, right? But I'm real, Frankie. I'm being authentic. That was how I felt. I think there's a nuanced difference.
for
Absolutely.
sure.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great point that you bring up, because part of the authenticity is also, if you're trying to better yourself and you're being real, then that means that your communication has finesse. Because if you're just like blurring things out, recklessly,
Reckless.
there's no finesse in that, right? And I always tell people, like, tell yourself what you just said to that person. How does that feel? Did that land for you? Does that feel good to you? I think often people, when they look outside of themselves, they forget, that people have feelings. I find this, like, with men and women, particularly, like, sometimes women dating men, for example, they think that they don't have feelings, that men don't have feelings because they're men. And the reality is that men fall in love faster. They're more romantic. They claim to fall in love, love at first sight, more than women. Like, we're more cynical, actually, even though they try to attribute those things to women. But that the reality is, there's data to prove that. So just being gentle and being careful that you're not hurting people, that you
Harm,
can
causing
communicate.
harm
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because
Mm-hmm.
in your authenticity.
That's
yeah.
right.
I mean, when you think about, like, stuff that maybe a teacher said that traumatized you, a little simple thing, I mean, it could affect your whole life. So why would you want to go through life doing that? Because it's not, you know, there's more harm in sometimes the words that we say than actual physical harm. So yeah, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, Frankie.
Yeah, and for sure. And I hate to spotlight that cliche, but hurt people,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and being rough it's mean. It's not. There's no authenticity in being mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and honest with somebody else and not drag them along, right? If you're not interested. But there's a way to do that with kindness and love and care. And just say, like, it's just, you don't have to give tons of detail as to why you're not interested. That's the thing too. It's like the feeling of, I just want to be honest and give them a reason. I don't want them wondering why I'm not interested. No, I don't know that you need to go in detail necessarily. And just say that it doesn't,
Right.
I don't feel like we're a good match. I don't feel like we're compatible. Something general. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a way to handle it, because often when people ask me, well, hey, Arlene, I'm going on a date, and what if they ask me why I got divorced or about my past relationships? I always say, just say we weren't a fit. That
Yep.
should be plenty for anyone, and redirect the conversation, because A, is none of their business and it's not relevant, even though people think that might have an impact on what they're doing now. every
Yeah.
person that you're with brings out a different side of you because it's a different connection. So it's not going to be the same. Now, yes, we do tend to have, you know, in our personality, certain things that we do. But in terms of the connection between two people, I think, you know, deal with the here and now.
Hmm.
And yeah, so yeah, I think that's a perfectly fine way to end a relationship. Say, you know what? I don't think this is a good romantic relationship, but I appreciate you and your time, and I wish you all the best, or whatever you want to say. Um, and unless somebody does something mean to you, that's a different story, maybe. And even still, I would handle that with care.
What if the person is probing for more?
Yeah,
What?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to, it's so general, right? Like if you give me a scenario, I can tell you how I would handle it because it's almost the same as when you're communicating boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than communicating boundaries as if it's an ultimatum, there are ways to communicate boundaries without giving people ultimatums, where you make it clear that you have the freedom to do whatever you want, but my needs are this. This is what I require. If that's not something you can do, that's perfectly okay. Then we're just not a good fit, right? That's not an ultimatum.
Mm.
It sounds like it.
It's a
Yeah,
choice.
but it's a choice, exactly. You're giving other, you know,
Mhm.
you're expressing that they have agency, but I have agency, and this is what I need for myself. And I
Yeah.
think even like silly things, like I'll get questions like, "Oh, these, you know, somebody tried to kiss me on the first date. I don't kiss on the first date." Well, you don't just say, "Hey, I'm so hey, back up. I don't kiss on a first date." You can say, "You know what? I am really looking forward to the time where you and I can have a wonderful kissing session.
That's
I
right.
would enjoy it, but I kind of need to get to know you a little bit better." That's just, you know, I don't I my the way I operate is a little different. Like I'm not comfortable moving so quickly. It doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to it. It doesn't mean I haven't thought about it. So now you're not telling the person it's you, there's a problem with you. It's like, no, I'm interested in you, but I want to get to know you first. And
Mhm.
so I
Absolutely.
think there's a finesse in communicating that versus just saying, I don't kiss on a first date and getting aggravated and whatever. Everybody's going to push and see how far they can go, right?
Also, the piece of like having a like hard set, rigid line like that, where it's like, I don't do that on the first date.
Right.
I feel like it's important to have some flexibility and wiggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Never say never. Yeah. And this concept of red flags, where someone would say they tried to kiss me on a first date, that's a red flag. They ordered, that's a red flag. They walked, that's a red flag. They're breathing, that's a red flag. Like everything is a red flag now.
And Denise, to your point, you know, they'll say, well, they tried to kiss me, so that's a red flag. Or he didn't even try to kiss me. That's a red flag. Is he or she interested in me? So that's the person who's looking for red flags because you can make a
Mhm.
red flag out of everything. Like, where are the green
Everything.
flags? What was good? You
What
know,
was
when I
good?
when
Exactly.
I when I
Yeah.
interview people, I was asked, so what was great? Tell me what was great about this person, and get them in the headspace before they start complaining about this, that, or the other.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? We're wired that way, right? To focus on the negative, to find the negatives. And we sort of have to stop, like knowing that we have to intercept that natural inclination and instead go, wait a minute, I want to focus on the positive aspects of that date or that person. What are the takeaways that kind of, that I liked about this person?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, I actually give when I was actively matchmaking, they would have to fill out a form and I would say to them, fill out this form immediately after your date. If it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I don't care. Because that's when your emotions are true. Because then you're gonna walk away, you're gonna go home, you're gonna sleep on it, and then you're gonna rethink and
And
you
then
know,
you're going to talk to your friends
oh yes.
and they have all sorts of opinions
Mhm. Yeah.
because they
And
want to
then
protect you, right?
exactly. And our brains rewind, like it just, we make up stories. And we do this
Of
in our own
course.
lives. We rearrange stories all the time. That's the way our
Mhm.
brains are wired. So it's so important to do that immediately after. And if you're not using a matchmaker, just bring a little book that you keep with your notes and just jot some notes so that you can go back and look at that later on. People journal and they forget, things that happen or whatever, and then they go back and they read the journal. Oh my God. They're like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah,
So true.
so valuable. Even if you
So
write a paragraph, you don't have to write a novel. And
Yeah.
definitely don't be critical about your writing, right? Clients are like, oh, I don't know. I didn't get very far because I had to make sure the grammar was correct and my sentences were complete. It's like, no,
just
the
get the
type
thoughts
A,
in there.
yeah, in them. Like, no, just even a paragraph and don't edit anything. And it's a way to track because our minds can play tricks on us.
And they sure do.
And we change them so often, right? The further away we get from the experience, the more kind of diluted it becomes. And the more we, like you said, Arlene, start making up these stories.
Yeah.
This means this and that meant this.
And we're also wired to protect ourselves. We're wired for survival. So that's why we notice the negative immediately in a situation. And yeah, it's useful to have that, right? But not when it's interfering with our ability to connect with people and have deeper relationships with people. So we've got to intercept that automatic process because it's not going to stop. We're just going to continue to try to protect ourselves automatically.
Yeah, our RAS brain is
Yeah.
developed a long time ago when we were dealing with saber-toothed tigers.
Yes.
This day and age, generally speaking, you're fairly safe and you're creating a lot of the danger and the fear within yourself. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's really important to know that there's nothing wrong with you, but you need those constant pattern interrupts. That's what
Yes.
I would say. Like if you're in a pattern, you need to learn to catch yourself and recover from it because nobody's perfect and triggers are going to happen, all those things, but identifying it, identifying the emotion, identifying what's happening and recognizing it over time, you get better at it. And then you're able to catch yourself faster than, if you just allow it to just be. And again, that's more of the indulgent person. It's like, that's how I am. No, you can change. You
Yes.
can
Yeah.
improve and you can use your own powers to do that and catch yourself. It doesn't have to be somebody else putting up guardrails. So yeah, it's such an important thing because we are wired we're wired negatively, but we're also wired to be in connection. I mean, there are studies going on for over 80 years. Harvard has a study about the importance of connecting and making new friends and
Absolutely.
having
We
people around.
die alone. We die of loneliness.
Yes.
We are not designed to do life alone.
Yeah.
I know. That is one of my, it's so funny. I've been talking about the loneliness epidemic for about 6 or 7 years now. And
Hmm.
finally, the Surgeon General put out the report last year in 2023 that there is a loneliness epidemic, especially coming out of COVID. But I think worldwide, there's a disconnect that where we're having low birth rates. There's all kinds of stuff going out on. I know Japan is launching an app, the country itself, for the people in their country to connect more so that they can have more children because it's such a low birth rate and low marriage rate. And something's happening, right? Our younger generation, they're not, a lot of them are not getting married.
Mm-mm.
Right.
I'm constantly hearing of women that are going for, having children on their own without a spouse. So there's a lot of disconnect, and I think it's really, really important to do something now. And I think matchmakers are really a great resource for doing that. Seriously, I
I'd
think
say
God's work.
so. I'm not biased at all, though.
We are the
Arlene,
connectors.
Mhm.
this is so good. I just want to keep talking to you, but I'm looking at the time. So, what a joy. How, like, are you matchmaking to, like, tell people a little bit, like, how they can work with you? Are you working with clients? Are you coaching? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I'm not technically a matchmaker in that I don't take on matchmaking clients, but I do have a website called the Worldwide Referral Network, and it's www.network.com. And that's where anyone who's looking for a matchmaker, I will match them to the right matchmaker. Someone who's ethical, someone who knows what they're doing. They're not just an order taker. You know, they're doing good work. They don't have a bunch of bad reviews. So we've been building this database of ethical matchmakers and people who are really rocking in this industry. And again, because people aren't taking the initiative to meet on their own, to get married or whatever, I think matchmakers are really instrumental in helping in this loneliness epidemic. And that really was the impetus to start that company. So currently that's what I do. If you go to the website www.rnetwork.com, you'll be able to either be a match for a matchmaker's client if you're not able to invest and you're a good candidate for someone, or if you want to find a matchmaker, I will help you find those matchmakers all over the world. I've trained matchmakers all over. I've been to China, Japan, Europe, throughout the US. And also I do train matchmakers now through the Love Pro Mastermind Academy. And it was something that I felt that was so needed for matchmakers to understand how to be in business, right? Because they'll talk to a client and they'll charge the wrong amount and then they're totally depleted. I think what you pay and the service you get, there's an energy exchange, right? And so when you lowball to get a client, now you got to take two more clients. Now you're depleted. Now you can't provide the service because people don't understand that the matchmaking business and service is a lot of work. Okay. If you think about, you go through life and you haven't met the one and you expect a matchmaker to find them in 6 months, trust me, they are working their butts off, right? So,
Right.
lowering your price just makes it so that you have to take another client and
Sure.
then you have two clients and you're totally depleted. So I teach matchmakers how to be in business so that they feel energized and they know what they're doing and they're running it as a business. I think a lot of people are very heart-centered and they go into it with just the desire to put people together, but then they can't stay in business
Not
or
sustainable.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not sustainable.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's what I do. That's the lovepromastermind.com. And then, also connecting daters to the right matchmaker.
And what's your social media handles?
You can find me everywhere at Arlene Washburn.
Okay, good. And then we're going to have it in the description and all that, all the details
Yes.
in the show notes. Arlene, such a pleasure.
I mean,
Such a pleasure.
I love you, and I can't wait to meet with you in person, Denise. And I think I'll see you
Yes.
in May, right? Frankie,
Yeah.
You'll see both of us. We'll be there.
Okay,
Yay.
good. And we'll spend some time together.
And then we'll see you too
Absolutely.
in Mexico.
Absolutely.
All these, just for the listeners here, we meet up as matchmakers several times a year all over. And we come together and we collaborate and we try to make lots of love matches. So yeah.
Right. We
All
do
right.
all know each other.
Yeah, and if you meet a matchmaker who is doing that, who's going to conferences, who's advancing their skills and continuing education, that's a great matchmaker. If you go to a matchmaker who thinks they know everything, they've done everything, and they're in this silo, that's probably not going to be a great matchmaker. So if you hear a matchmaker is going to a conference, you should be very happy because they're connecting with other people who are like-minded, who can support them, and that's what you need to really get great service.
So true. It makes me think of a professor that never does CEUs and never does any advancement, like learning new techniques or approaches or, research, things like that. So yeah. Stagnant. Yeah.
They can only take you but so far.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. Big kisses, hugs. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.